Good morning. The hour of convening has arrived, and the Senate will now come to order. Would like to ask that all unauthorized persons exit the chamber. Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 53rd, the chairman of the Rules Committee.
Good morning, Mr. President. It's a wonderful day at our state capitol, and we have a concert developing across the street that'll be after noon today. A moment in history, Truett Caffey was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1921, the founder of Chick-fil-A. The journal's been read and found to be correct.
Your brevity today was noticed. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Hearing none, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading a reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 242 by Senator Lucas of the 26th. The bill will be titled an act to provide a new charter for the town of Toomsboro, Georgia, to provide for related matters, to repeal
State and local government.
Senate Resolution 341 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others. A resolution urging the United States Congress to oppose the Green New Deal and for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 348 by Senator Thompson of the 14th and others. A resolution creating the Senate Freedom from Property Taxes Study Committee for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 353 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others. A resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on Community Schools and for other purposes.
Rules.
That concludes the order.
First reading a reference of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 574 by Representative Green, the 151st. The bill will be titled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Dawson, Georgia, to provide for definitions and construction.
State and local government.
House Bill 584 by Representative Carson, the 46th, and others. The bill will be titled an act to amend and act changing compensation of the clerk of the Superior Court, the sheriff.
State and local government.
House Bill 585 by Representative Dukes, the 154th. The bill will be titled an act to amend and act creating a board of commissioners in and for Miller County. Approved.
State and local government.
House Bill 590 by Representative Petraea, the 166th. The bill will be titled an act to amend and act to provide a new charter for the city of Tybee Island.
State and local government.
House Bill 591 by Representative Petraea, the 166th. The bill will be titled an act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Tybee Island to levy an excise tax.
State and local government.
That concludes the order.
Secretary will now read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, Senate Committee on Health and Human Services had registered to raise the final legislation director board sent back to the recommendation. Senate Resolution 276 to pass. House Bill 300 to pass. House Bill 514 to pass by substitute. Senator Watson the first. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Judiciary has had registered to raise the final legislation director board sent back to the recommendation. House Bill 246 to pass. House Bill 387 to pass. Submitted by Senator Stone of the 23rd. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Public Safety has had a restoration of final legislation director board sent back to Senate for recommendation. House Bill 171 to pass. House Bill 279 to pass by substitute. House Bill 471 to pass. House Bill 325 to pass. House Bill 226 to pass. House Bill 225 to pass. Senator Albers the 56. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Retirement has had a restoration of final legislation director board sent back to Senate for recommendation. House Bill 196 to pass. House Bill 319 to pass. Senator Black of the 8th. Mr. President, Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had a restoration of final legislation board saying back to Senate for recommendation. House Bill 525 to pass. Senator again of the 47th. Mr. President, Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations has had a restoration of final legislation board saying back to Senate for recommendation. Senate Bill 234 do pass. Senate Bill 236 to pass. House Bill 124 to pass. House Bill 125 to pass. House Bill 430 to pass. House Bill 431 to pass. House Bill 453 to pass. House Bill 462 to pass. House Bill 510 to pass. House Bill 531 to pass. Submitted by Senator Kirk of the 13th. And Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Assignments has had attached appointments to the Judicial Qualifications Commission made by the Lieutenant Governor and Supreme Court of Georgia for various terms and has instructed me to report the same back to for recommendation that the appointments be confirmed as submitted. Submitted by the Honorable Jeff Duncan. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Secretary will now read bills and resolutions for the second time.
House Bill 35 by Representative Watson, the 172nd, and others. Sales and use tax, certain poultry diagnostic and disease monitoring services create exemption. House Bill 85 by Representative Houston, the 170th, and others. Sales and use tax, organ procurement and organizations exempt sales. House Bill 168 by Representative Taylor, 173rd, and others. Sales and use tax, tangible personal property to certain nonprofit health centers, extended exemption for 5 additional years. House Bill 182 by Representative Harold, the 106th, and others. Sales and use tax, lower threshold amount for certain dealers. House Bill 184 by Representative Harold, the 106th, and others. Streamlining Wireless Facilities and Antennas Act and Act. House Bill 185 by Representative Williams, the 15th, and others. Financial institutions change certain definitions. House Bill 192 by Representative Powell, the 32nd, and others. Professions and businesses, real estate management companies change certain provisions. House Bill 193 by Representative Donohue, the 30th, and others. Banking and finance, banks and credit unions to offer savings promotion raffle accounts in which deposits to a savings account enter a depositor in a raffle allow. House Bill 212 by Representative Perkle 155th and others. Banking and finance, retail brokers of manufactured homes or mobile homes and residential contractors with the requirement to obtain a license as a mortgage loan originator, broker, or lender under certain circumstances. Exempt House Bill 223 by Representative Dickey 140th and others. Conservation natural resources to provide for an exception to notification of spills or releases, provide for definitions. House Bill 368 by Representative Taylor 173rd and others. Insurance division of a domestic insurer into two or more resulting domestic insurers provide. House Bill 374 by Representative LaHood the 175th and others. Health administer medications to residents under hospice care pursuant to a physician's written orders to authorize certain certified medication aids. House Bill 382 by Representative Burns the 159th and others. Outdoor stewardship eligible applicants for and recipients of the grants that redefined. House Bill 406 by Representative Williamson of the 115th and others. Local government joint authorities to furnish certain information necessary for the state auditor to determine the net impact of their activities on the associated tax digest require. House Bill 419 by Representative the 130th and others. Revenue taxation, Internal Revenue Code, and Internal Revenue Code of 1986 define terms and incorporate certain provisions of federal law into Georgia law. House Bill 501 by Representative Petre the 166th and others. Game and Fish provide for agricultural development. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
At this time, we'd like to introduce our Doctor of the Day. I'd like to recognize the Senator from the 6th to introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am honored to introduce Dr. Randy Reiser as the Doctor of the Day. He's a founding partner of the Physician Spine and Rehabilitation Specialists in Sandy Springs. He graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Bates College and received his Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of Toledo School of Medicine. He completed a residency in anesthesiology at Dartmouth, and he received subspecialty certification in pain management for the American Board of Anesthesiology in '93 and recertification in 2005. He has been named repeatedly one of Atlanta's top doctors, and we're just happy to have him here today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Randy Reiser.
Thank you very much, Senator Jordan. Mr. President, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to serve you today. Thank you for serving the people of Georgia. And as a veteran, I want to thank you for all you do for the care of veterans in Georgia as well. And I look forward to seeing you and taking care of any needs you may have. Thank you.
All right, it is now time for our morning roll call. It is now time for morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the senator from the 55th.
Good morning, Mr. President. Thank you. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 2nd and the 36th outside the Capitol on business.
Without objection, the senators from the 2nd and the 36th are excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 33rd. Oh, no. He waves. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 17th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 17th is excused. Chair recognizes the senator from the 43rd.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 39th for business outside of the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 39th is excused. Are there any additional motions to excuse? Secretary will call the roll of senators. Signify your presence by voting the yea switch. The secretary will unlock the machine. your script, is it? It is now time for our morning devotional. Will all senators please take your seats? All senators, please take your seats and cease all audible conversations. All senators, please take your seats and cease all audible conversations. Doorkeepers, please secure the doors. It's my pleasure to recognize a senator from the 10th to lead us in our pledge today and to introduce our chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all make our pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principles of which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to introduce our pastor of the day, my good friend, Pastor Easton Brooks. Pastor Brooks is a native of Jamaica and migrated to Canada in 1980. He accepted the Lord as his personal Savior at a very early age and gladly responded to the calling of the Lord to preach the gospel at the ripe early age of 17. While in Canada, he attended Canada Christian College and graduated with distinction of bachelor's and master's degree in theology. Pastor Brooks served as a national evangelist for a number of years, and while serving with the New Testament Church of God in Canada, under the divine direction, he moved to Edmonton, Alberta, and he served as the interim pastor for Harvest Time Ministries and was later appointed vice president for Native Ministries Association of Canada. And we are delighted that Pastor Brooks moved to Atlanta, where he did back in 1991, where he founded Increase in Faith International Ministries, formerly known as Revival Time Church of God, and is currently the senior pastor. Increase in Faith Ministries is a church of multicultural, which fulfills its desire to reach the multicultural harvest of the world. One of Pastor Brooks' testimonies is that the Lord has shown him favor by blessing him with exceptional children who are working alongside his wife and himself in the ministry. I am delighted this morning to present to you our pastor today, Pastor Easton Brooks.
Good morning. To Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Senator Emmanuel Jones, to the entire body of the Assembly. I greet you in the name of our Lord. As you have already heard, my name is Pastor Brooks. I'm the senior pastor for the Increase in Faith International Ministries. We do have an open prayer line at our church, and I believe it is our duty, it is our responsibility to pray for you always. Always make mention for you in our prayers, our elected officials, those who the Lord has chosen to lead this great state of Georgia. If you failed, and we all failed, and you're not going to fail, our prayers will be with you always, not just you, but also your family. The Lord has given you a great platform to do great things. God has given you the privilege and the opportunity. Use it well. Use it wisely. Knowledge is great. Wisdom is power. But understanding is the mother of them all. Proverbs, the 4th chapter, in the 7th verse, it says, "In all you're getting, get understanding." The wise Solomon asked the Lord not for wisdom, not for knowledge, but for understanding. God blessed him with the rest. Before I pray the devotional prayer, I would like to give to all of us something to think about. This is taken from a sermon given by the Reverend Dr. Lewis Donaldson, the 6th of March, 1925. And it talks about the 7 social sins. The 7 social sins. Sin number 1 is wealth without work. Sin number 2, pleasure without conscience. Sin number 3, it talks about knowledge without character. Number 4, commerce without morality. Number 5, science without humanity. Number 6, worship without sacrifice. And the 7th social sin is politics without principle. I pray that this will be a guiding tool for all of us, that we'll be thankful each day that God has given you a platform to do great things for the great state of Georgia. And we just want to thank God for you for the work that you're doing. We really want to thank God for you because we are depending on you. And you're going to do great things for our citizens. I want to invite you, if you don't mind standing with me. We're going to go before the Lord in prayer. It is a good thing to acknowledge that without Christ we are nothing. David said, Lord, without you I have nothing. He is our strength. He is our breath that we breathe. He is everything that we do. We depend on him each day for knowledge, for wisdom, for understanding. And in acknowledging so, he will guide you in the right path. Now let us pray. Lord, we stand in awe of you this day, recognizing our insufficiencies and our imperfections, knowing that without you we are nothing. We stand in solidarity to devote ourselves to you this day, O Lord, and to thank you for all the opportunities you have given unto us to do good and to change the lives for better. I pray for every person in this place. Let it be, O God, that everyone who represents this great state of Georgia, the platform that you have given them, let it be used for the right reasons. Let there be unity among us. Let the peace of God that passeth all understanding rule and guide us in all our ways. Let righteousness prevail. Let justice and equality prevail. Let the love of God prevail in this place. In the name of Jesus, we thank you, Lord, for your many blessings upon us, upon our families. We thank you, O Lord. We honor you in this place. We ask that you will accept our devotion to you as we humble ourselves to you, O God. I pray, Father, that the heavens' blessings will fall upon this great place, and to everyone that you have put in this position, that they will remember always that we don't live for ourselves, but we live for others. That we will remember always that someone is depending on us. That we will remember always that someone needs us. Thank you, Father. Thank you for granting wisdom and knowledge and understanding above all things. Thank you for your many blessings in this place. I pray, Lord, that everything that should be said and done this day, guide, lead, and protect the hands and the minds of everyone who will participate in this house, in this great assembly. We ask all these blessings in Jesus Christ's holy name. Amen.
So interesting, I was talking to Duke, I was moving at the time, I've forgotten that. Since day 20, exactly. I didn't realize that, is that after the 20th day, the points of personal privilege are only 3 minutes instead of 5. So that keeps things moving. This is a glorious day. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a good thing. Well, it was funny, yesterday we Are there any unanimous consents? We have some special guests with us today that we would like to recognize. Will the Secretary read the resolution?
Senate Resolution 362 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Shane Stevens, Consul General of Ireland for other purposes, and Senate Resolution 363 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others. A resolution recognizing and commending David Stanton, Ireland's Government Minister for Equality, Immigration, and Integration, and for other purposes. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call upon the senator from the 18th to introduce our special guest today.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. What a thrill it is for me to get to introduce some new friends, but I feel a lifelong connection with them, and you can kind of figure that out. On the rostrum with us, we have some very important folks. We have Mr. David Stanton, Ireland's Minister of Equality, Immigration, and Integration, and also his wife, Mrs. Stanton. We also have Mr. Shane Stevens, the Consul General of Ireland, who resides here in Atlanta in that post. Yvonne Phillips is also on the rostrum behind me, and also the Vice Consul, Elise O'Keefe, is with us this morning. Don't laugh at me about that. All right. Shane Stevens, the Consul General of Ireland, has a long distinguished record of service to Ireland. He assumed this post in July of 2015. He's the second Irish Consul General for the United States Southeastern region, responsible for Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. But as I said very proudly, he assumes that post here in Atlanta. Also, just a little bit more about Mr. Stanton's position with regard to the government, Ireland's Government Minister for Equality, Immigration, and Immigration. He's been serving the Minister of State for Justice at the Department of Justice, Equality, and Special Responsibility for Equality, Immigration, and Integration since May of 2016. With approximately 800,000 Georgians proudly claiming Irish heritage and a shared history that started shortly after the arrival of the first settlers in Georgia and continues to the present day, please give a warm Senate welcome to our Irish friends on the rostrum with us.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor General and Senator Kennedy for the warm welcome. And I bring greetings from Ireland, the Emerald Isle, on this St. Patrick's Day season. And I wish you very well. It's a great privilege for me to be here on behalf of the Government of Ireland. Ireland has come a long way since the bad old days of famine and hardship. Today, the United Nations ranks us as the fourth most developed country in the world. Our economy has been one of the fastest growing in the world in the last 5 years. We are one of the biggest international investors in the United States. I've just come from one Irish company, CRH America, which has its headquarters here in Georgia, and it now employs 45,000 people in North America. Overall, Irish companies employ 100,000 people in North America, and American companies employ 150,000 people in Ireland. Our national success has been made possible by our fantastic partnership and friendship with the United States and our membership of the European Union. And we are determined to stay at the heart of the European Union and press forward with our friendship and partnership with the United States and with this great state of Georgia. We doubled the size of our consulate in Georgia in the summer, and we've just announced a new consulate general for Florida, which will allow the diplomats here to focus more on Georgia. This week, our government organized a FinTech trade mission to Atlanta involving 8 Irish firms, and additional trade missions have been planned for this year. We want to invest more here as well from Ireland. We will build on the success of TradeBridge, a new partnership between Wexford, Ireland and Savannah, Georgia, which is helping small businesses from urban and rural areas to internationalize profitability across the Atlantic. We will press ahead with our partnerships with Georgia's great universities and the outstanding technical systems here in Georgia. This week, I will support a groundbreaking new cultural and heritage project made possible by Savannah's St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. I will join a delegation from Northern Ireland and 30-strong Ulster marching band from Northern Ireland's Unionist community in the glorious 195th Savannah St. Patrick's Day Parade. I wish to thank Georgia for its partnership, and I want to wish you the very best for St. Patrick's Day. Banach Day, Le Féle Pádraig Oribh Galéir. every blessing on you on this St. Patrick's season. Thank you.
We have some additional special guests with us today that we'd like to recognize. Will the Secretary read the resolution?
Senate Resolution 47 by Senator Unterman of the 45th and others, a resolution commending and congratulating Suwannee Police Chief Michael S. Jones as the 2018 to 2019 Georgia Police Chief of the Year and for other purposes. Whereas Suwannee Police Chief Michael S. Jones is highly regarded by the citizens of his community and state and by local government officials as a person of unquestioned integrity, humility, and dedication to the sound principles of law enforcement. And whereas he has served as Chief of Police for the City of Suwannee Police Department, a full-service and revered law enforcement agency for the last 20 years. And whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that the members of this body show their gratitude for the unique and often unheralded contributions of Chief Jones and all local law enforcement officers on behalf of the citizens of the state. Now therefore be resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the care, courage, and selfless dedication exhibited by Suwannee Police Chief Michael S. Jones in carrying out the difficult duties of his vocation and congratulate him upon his recognition as the 2018-2019 Georgia Police Chief of the Year. That concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call upon our friend, the senator from the 56th, to introduce our special guest today.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to do this along with my colleague, the senator from the 45th. We're so proud of Chief Jones being named Police Chief of the Year and the wonderful work he does in Suwannee, Georgia. He has a 45-year career in law enforcement. And as we've talked, he's seen many changes in the great work. Our men and women who are serving us in law enforcement all over this state put their lives on the line every day. And their jobs, candidly, have never been more dangerous. And I know that this Senate body has stood to support our law enforcement officers all over the state all of the time and will continue to do so. So at this time, I'd like to call on my friend, Senator from the 45th, to speak about one of her police chiefs.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. It's an honor to be able to bring not only Chief Jones here to the Georgia State Senate, but also the elected officials and the honorary dignitaries from the city of Suwannee. And if anyone doesn't know where Suwannee is in Gwinnett County, you may remember from years ago, it was always the connotation that we were the home of the Atlanta Falcons training camp. But no longer, when you ride down Interstate 85, you see the gateway to Gwinnett County and the city of Suwannee, and it's grown from an old town on the railroad tracks to a town of almost 20,000 people. It's known for its Suwannee Fest, which is held once a year. It's a 3-day event that's a great activity right there on the square where City Hall is. We have a park there, and it fills up probably with 30,000, 40,000 people on each individual day. It's an honor to be able to present Chief Jones here as the Chief of the Year for law enforcement. I have worked with him for many, many years as the Chief of the City of Suwannee, and I think what is indicative of his personality and also of the City of Suwannee is that we operate as a family. We all know one another. We know what's going on. We know when people are in need. We know when changes need to be made. And that's what has made Suwannee blossom and grow. We're honored to have him here with us with the Chiefs Association Day at the Capitol and also his beautiful wife, Debbie. So let's give him a warm welcome and congratulate him not only on his years of service, but also as the Police Chief of the Year. Chief Jones.
I'm a little bit shorter than everybody else here. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much. I'm very honored and humbled to be here today. But you can't do it by yourself, folks. I have good people working for me. I have a wonderful wife that supports what I do. And then I have a council and a mayor that support our police department and give us the things we need to do our job. But most of all, we believe in community policing, building relationships with our people, and we have that in Suwannee. And I'm just want to say thank you so much, and God bless all of you. Thank you.
We have some additional special guests that we'd like to recognize. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the resolution?
Senate Resolution 247 by Senator James of the 35th, a resolution recognizing March 14, 2019 as Morris Brown College Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Morris Brown College of the AME Church was granted a charter from the state of Georgia in May 1885, becoming the first institution in the state solely under African American patronage. And whereas for more than 130 years, Morris Brown College has received and nurtured students from around the world, the institution's deep-seated commitment to a profound purpose, diligence of effort, hard work, perseverance, and belief and trust in God provides access to opportunity for educational development in a nurturing environment. Now therefore be resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize March 14, 2019 as Morris Brown College Day at the state capitol. That concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call upon the senator from the 35th to introduce our special guest today.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am so excited and honored to present Morris Brown College and alumni and brand new president. So today we have passed a resolution to honor the college that I graduated from. So it's my undergrad. And I'm going to invite, and thank you, Senator Davenport, for coming and being with us. Even though you were at Spelman College, you took a lot of classes at Morris Brown, right? And we're recognizing this great school. It's a historically black college. Started right here in Atlanta in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church on Auburn Avenue. It was started in 1881. Oh my goodness. I was about to say 1913, but anyway, I think my great-great-grandmother said that she was there in 1913, so I'm getting it mixed up. But either way, please, the president of the Women for Morris Brown will introduce our brand new president of Morris Brown College, Dr. James.
Thank
you. She's going to introduce you.
Good morning, and thank you, Senator James, for this opportunity to introduce our brand new interim president. His name is Dr. Kevin E. James, and he comes with a whole lot of administrative skills and vision for our historically black college. So without further ado, before I call him, I would like to recognize the alumni who are seated in the gallery. Would you please stand right quick for the sea of purple? Yeah. Thank you.
Introduce the other people.
Okay, I must follow what my senator is telling me to do, and she wants me to introduce the other people that are standing down here with us. And to my immediate left and to your right is Sister Melody Maddox. She is a 1995 graduate, Morris Brown, bubbling brown sugar, and currently serving as the police chief of Piedmont College. Let's give her a round of applause. Next, if you don't know this gentleman, he is the world-renowned tenor and mathematician at Morris Brown College, Brother Henry Porter, who is also Donzello's professor. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Standing directly behind me is our illustrious National Alumni President, Sister Shirley Barlow. And of course, we save the best for last, but the other cohort with us in getting the resolution passed today is Senator Gail Davenport, who is working with us on this presentation. And now, without further ado, I present, of course, and I must, before I bring up the president, she's telling me we must thank our Lieutenant Governor. So let's give the Lieutenant Governor the star and applause this morning. And now, we will present to you Dr. Kevin E. James.
Yes, thank you very much, very much. Thank you. Thank you. I will keep my comments brief. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Kevin E. James. I am the new interim president of Morris Brown College, and today is a wonderful day. We are so excited, and we want to thank Senator James and everyone who's been involved with making this possible for Morris Brown College. We have been in existence since 1881, the only historically black college in the state of Georgia founded by black people. And we are so proud of our wonderful tradition, our history, and guess what? Morris Brown College is still standing. We are still here. And we're going to come back stronger than ever. I have so many great things in plan and in store for Morris Brown College. We will be at the top once again. We're going to remain educating our future leaders of this country. Again, I would like to thank everyone who's involved with making this possible. Thank you very much, and we look forward to our continued service in the state of Georgia.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, will you read the resolution for our next set of special guests?
Senate Resolution 361 by Senator Watson I, a resolution commending the Georgia residents who have type 1 diabetes and whose families continually educate and advocate in recognizing March 14, 2019 as Type 1 Diabetes Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease in which a person's pancreas stops producing insulin, and whereas more than 8,000 children and an unknown number of adults in Georgia live with type 1 diabetes, whereas each year there are currently 500 children and an unknown number of adults who are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in the state of Georgia, whereas the goal is making insulin affordable, along with the ultimate goal of finding a cure and turning type 1 into type none so that people can live fulfilling lives. Now therefore be resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend Georgia residents who have type 1 diabetes and recognize March 14, 2019 as Type 1 Diabetes Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. That concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'd like to call upon the senator from the 1st to introduce our special guest today.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's certainly my honor here to introduce the Della Tripp Stoner, who is with the Diabetes Mellitus Type 1 group. And as you know, from a personal standpoint, I take care of in primary care, take care of a lot of diabetics type 2 and type 1 that have grown into adults. And it is my honor to introduce them, but I did want to say and point out to you the things that are on your desk. If you'll notice that 100 units of insulin, which if you're on insulin pump and going at 1 or 2 units an hour, you'll see that that's used up in a very fast fashion. Or if you're doing just 5 to 7 units before each meal, you'll see that that's used up. And you'll see the cost associated with that, and that has grown exponentially over these past few years. So that has been a major issue when it comes to diabetes, which, as you know, if you don't have insulin and you have type 1 diabetes, you do not survive. So having said that, Della Tripp Stoner, I'd like for her to say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, I brought with me my endocrinologist, just in case I get in trouble, Dr. John B. I brought a nurse practitioner with me who works at CHOA because there's 10 pages that will be serving with type 1 diabetes. They'll have a button on, just like me, that says T1D, looks like me, Jenny. Then I brought my husband, former state senator Doug Stoner, and Marty. Senator Marty actually has a child with type 1 diabetes, so this is something that runs real close to his heart. Today, if you have time, I would like to encourage you to speak to some of these people with type 1 diabetes that are serving you today as a page. They're happy to share with you their experiences as type 1 diabetes and their teenage perspective, which is quite different from us being adults when we grow into adults. I've teamed up this year with Team Type 1 Foundation. We both believe that no one should die from diabetes, no one should suffer hardship or lower quality of life because they have diabetes. We believe in access to insulin is a human right, so every day we fight to make sure with people with diabetes get the medicine and the health education that they need to live a long and healthy life. Our hope today is to make sure that we bring presence to how impactful proper legislation can be in helping your constituents get access to the insulin. And we ask you to support lowering the price of insulin, support the extension of continuous glucose monitors, which tells us what our glucose number is every 5 minutes. And for those who age out of peach care, we're going to start talking about, we like to make sure that the Medicaid expansion bills y'all are researching will include to continue the continuous glucose monitoring. I don't stand in front of you like a talking head. I've actually had type 1 diabetes for almost 30 years, and I am kind of sad to say we are losing some of my friends because they can't afford their insulin. This is a medical crisis in the USA. Besides that, we just hope you have a good day, and thank you for this special resolution and your consideration for the things we struggle with daily.
I'd like to recognize the senator from the 15th to recognize some special guests here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would like to take the podium to recognize some very special guests in the gallery, and they're standing right here along the wall. These are members and inductees of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. They are from various counties in the state of Georgia. And if you're a veteran, I'd like to have you join me right here, Senator Redd, Senator Hill, and Senator Jackson, and the rest of you in the chamber. We would just like to say how much we appreciate our veterans and what they do and what they've done for our country. These inductees now represent 100 that has been inducted into the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. In the gallery, if you're up there, please stand so we can recognize you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Over here on this side as well, thank you so much. And as you see some of the spouses of the members who have deceased, they are recognized as well. So you can introduce someone and have them inducted if you think they're so worthy. And you can't say they are not, because it has nothing to do whether they're combat veterans or service veterans. The idea is to make sure that we reach out and let people know just how much we appreciate our veterans in this country. It was founded with a resolution emanating from this Senate and in the House back some years ago by myself and a colleague in the House. It was started by, if you stand, Colonel Rick White and Paul Longrear. They're the two people, combat veterans, who started this organization. Thank you so much, President, and members of the Senate, for your induction. Thank you.
We have a very special guest with us today, maybe one of the most recognized icons in America. Will the Secretary read the resolution?
Senate Resolution 235 by Senators Walker of the 20th and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Smokey Bear on his 75th birthday and for other purposes. Whereas Smokey Bear has been working to educate Georgia's children and adults about how they can help prevent wildfires with his Only You messages since 1944. And whereas the Smokey Bear Wildlife Prevention Campaign is the longest-running public service advertising campaign in U.S. history. And whereas the Georgia Forestry Commission works hand-in-hand with Smokey Bear in an ongoing effort to help Georgia's citizens learn to prevent wildfires in our state. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Senate that members of this body recognize and commend Smokey Bear and his partners at the Georgia Forestry Commission for 75 years of teaching the message of wildfire prevention. That concludes the order.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Chair would like to call upon the senator from the 20th to introduce our very special guest today.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a real privilege for me to honor a true American icon on his 75th birthday. Smokey Bear was developed by the U.S. Forestry Service in 1944. So he's turning 75 this year. It's the longest running public service advertisement in the U.S. history. He's been working closely with the Georgia Forestry Commission over the years to educate Georgia's children and adults on how we can help prevent forest fires. And in light of the storm damage from Hurricane Michael and all the damage to our timberland, all the fuel that is on the ground, it's very fitting that we have Smokey Bear here with us today, and we need to be more diligent than ever to prevent forest fires, which are predominantly started by humans. On your desk, you have some stress cupcakes and an invitation to a birthday party in the Capitol after we adjourn. I hope you will stop by room 216 for his birthday. I want to introduce the director of our Georgia Forestry Commission, Chuck Williams, to say a few things and to introduce the rest of the guests we have on the dais this morning. Thank you.
Senator Walker, thank you very much. President Duncan, thank you for the honor of being with you this morning. The Senate's already recognized a number of outstanding groups and individuals, and we're pleased to be here, maybe to add a little bit of levity to the morning, but also to talk seriously about Smokey and the impact that he has had for the past 75 years in preventing wildfire. And I say wildfire, you may recall that when a lot of us were children, it was Smokey Bear, and it's not Smokey the Bear, as I learned the hard way, it's Smokey Bear. Smokey told us that only you can prevent forest fires, and Smokey was so successful in that actually the public began to believe that any fire associated with forestry was bad. Well, we know here in Georgia that prescribed fire is a key part of us managing our forests for both forest production, health, and preventing wildfire. So Smokey's message now is actually only you can prevent wildfires. We have morphed from forest fires to wildfires, and that really is our applicable message. Senator Walker mentioned that the U.S. Forest Service sort of birthed Smokey 75 years ago. We have Dave Martin here. If y'all will, just raise your hands as I introduce you. Dave Martin with the U.S. Forest Service. Frank Sarles is our Chief of Forest Protection. Willie Boston is our area FMO for here in the Atlanta area. And Clay Jones is a ranger here in the Atlanta area serving as Smokey's escort this morning. Again, it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you. I would reiterate the invitation. We're having a little birthday party in room 216 from 2 to 4 today. We will have a real birthday cake, whatnot. We would ask you, if your schedule allows, to please join us. Thank you.
Smokey said only you can prevent wildfires. At this time, does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? You have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? You have a consent calendar of local bills now before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed to the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Government, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The question is on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor will vote yea, opposed nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bills, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0. This on the local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. We are now moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you read the caption to House Bill 21?
Mr. President, House Bill 21 by Representative Everson of the 104th, a bill to be entitled an act amend code section 15-6-2 of the OCGA relating to the number of judges of the Superior Courts, so as to provide for an additional judge of the Superior Courts of the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit, to provide for related matters and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Committee of the Senate Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass.
Mr. President, we have an amendment. Amendment number 1 by Senator Rahman. Just read down again.
Mr. President, Amendment number 1 by Senator Rahman. Amendment to provide for the appointment of such additional judge by the governor to provide for the election of successors of the judge initially appointed. On lines 3 through 5, insert in lieu of to provide for the election of such judge and his or her successors. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 9th to speak to House Bill 21.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I bring today HB 21, which is going to create an additional 11th Superior Court judge in Gwinnett County. After review of all judicial circuits, the Judicial Council recommended that the Griffin Circuit and Gwinnett Circuit receive the next Superior Court judgeships. The Gwinnett County Commission is fully supportive of this. They've agreed that the 11th judge is needed, and they're willing to fund the county portion of the expenses. As the population of Gwinnett approaches 1 million residents, this 11th judge is needed to continue management of efficient courts and case resolution for the people of Gwinnett. I have not seen the amendments as of yet. I think one's being walked up here. I'm not supportive of this amendment. The way that this has always worked in the past, over the past 20 years at least, the appointment for when these are created, the appointment is done by the governor, and of course, then they will be up for election in the primary of 2020. So I do believe that we should continue forth with this tradition and move forward. I will yield for any questions.
You have some questions. The chair recognizes the senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
I will.
You mentioned on this amendment that this is just not how we've always done it, but doesn't the Constitution also require that when there's a vacancy that it's actually filled by the governor?
The senator knows of what he speaks.
So this amendment, if it passes, will make this bill unconstitutional. Is that correct?
I will take the word of the senator from the 17th.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
I will.
Isn't it true that if folks are allowed to elect their judge, then that would reflect the will of the people, particularly for the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit?
I mean, you're clearly passionate for this. The issue is, it was just brought up by the senator from the 17th. I mean, you have two things working. The governor makes these appointments every time we've done this. And then in the opinion of the senator from the 17th, it would be unconstitutional if we went ahead and had this election as a special. They will be elected in 2020 in the primary. That's just a year and a half away. I know you're aware of that, and I'm aware of that as well.
Thank you. And do you have the specific cite to the Constitution that
I don't have it in
provides
front of
that?
me, no, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I yield the web.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I yield.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th for a question.
Mr. Chairman, would you please yield?
I will.
Mr. Chairman, is it not true that Gwinnett County in the 1990s was consistently, I believe for 3 years in a row, the fastest growing state in the nation?
County, I believe, but yes, madam, that is correct. I lived it. I've lived through it. I understand that very well.
Would you further yield?
I will.
Is it also not true that Gwinnett County is now almost 1 million people residing within the county boundaries and has, I think, 16 cities within those boundaries? Is that not true?
That's all true. Senator, when I was born, Gwinnett County had a population 42 years ago of 70,000 residents, and today we're approaching 1 million. That's correct.
Would you further yield?
I will.
Senator, isn't that why we're adding another judge? I believe this is the 11th Superior Court judge to our bench in Gwinnett County, and that we're very proud of the quality and the transparency of those Superior Court judges. Is that not true?
That is true, Senator. The Gwinnett County has a reputation of being one of the most, if not the most efficient court system in the state, and I know they'll do a very good job having this 11th judge, and this will help them continue in that tradition of transparency and just doing a really good job.
Would you further yield?
I will.
Is it also not true that a lot of those judges that are sitting on the bench now, that they're my age, not your age in particular, but they're baby boomers and they're aging out, and fortunately they're able to retire, and that there's a big changeover, and that we're very proud of this new batch coming in, and we're very glad to have a new addition? Is that not true?
That's absolutely true, Senator. We've had, I know we had elections just a couple years ago, and we welcomed a number of new judges in, and they're all doing a fantastic job.
And the very last question, would you yield?
I will.
Is it not true that as a member of the 7-person Senate delegation, that probably you or I have never seen this amendment until 5 minutes ago, and that you and I probably both concur that we would not be in favor of this amendment, and based upon the constitutionality, that this has never been done before, and this would set a precedent? Isn't that true?
Yes, Senator. It is true. You would know better than I whether it had been done before, as you've been here a few more years than I have. It is the first time I've seen this amendment, and I would typically expect somebody within my delegation would have come to me before there to present that to me, but that did not occur.
Chair recognizes the senator from Chickamauga.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yields.
For my rules chairman, of course.
Senator, I missed this part of your great presentation, but this is part of the rule, meaning they are a formula that decides if there are adequate numbers or needs for a new judge in every judge circuit, correct?
That is correct. You did indeed miss that part of my presentation. The Judicial Council came together and they did a study, and they have recommended that the Griffin Circuit and the Gwinnett Circuit both receive an additional judgeship.
Would you also yield for another
I
question?
will continue to yield for as many questions as you
Well,
have,
you're
as
very kind. I
long
only
as they
have
don't
one. have
anything to do with Eddie Munster.
No Eddie Munster, but that was funny. All right. Now I forgot my question. Isn't it true when my friend Governor Barnes was in office, he also appointed judges and was a Democrat?
I believe that you are telling the truth in that
Okay,
statement.
I was here then too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 5th to speak to his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleague, what it does, normally I don't come speak here, you know that. I'm from Gwinnett County. This is the minority county. The population has grown to 1 million now, and this is the opportunity we need to elect somebody the people want. We talked about voting yesterday, how important is that we vote, we go to the polling station and vote the people we choose to. And this is an important issue to me because I come from Gwinnett County, and people in that county, they should have the opportunity to vote whoever they want to be their judge. And I'm not a lawyer. So I don't know about the Constitution, but this is not a Constitution issue as far as I know, because the position has not been created yet. And I think if the people has an opportunity to vote, whoever get elected, that's fine. We should not give that authority to the governor. I have no problem with the tradition, whatever happened 20 years ago. The new judge, let people decide. That's simple as it. If a 2020 election comes in, let people decide. We just wait. We don't have to appoint today. That's all I have to say.
The senator yield for questions.
Yes, then question.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 17th.
As Senator yield?
Yes.
Isn't it true, Senator, that the way the bill is currently drafted and the way every other judgeship has been done in this state as far back as even the senator from the, which district are you? 53rd's been here. While this may be an initial appointment, the voters will get to decide because this person will be up for election after the first term is done. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Thing is, don't have to appointment now. We can have election. Governor doesn't have to appoint right now. We waited that long. We can wait another year.
Senator, further yield.
Yes.
Just make sure I'm clear, though, that after the first term, this person will be on the ballot and must be elected, re-elected, defeated, however you want to say it, must qualify to run for re-election, and it'll be voted on by the citizens of Gwinnett County. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's true. But then normally, if you look at the history, if somebody is appointed and normally nobody runs, automatically, that's the history.
Senator, continue to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the minority leader for a question.
Do you yield?
Yes.
Thank you. Is it not true that the Superior Court in Gwinnett County has no African Americans or anyone of color on the board, on the court serving at this time?
Yes, Senator, you are correct. We do not have any minority or people of color in the Superior Court right now.
And isn't it true that if the governor appoints someone, that a lot of good people would probably not enter into a race against a sitting judge, people who would be qualified, who would be good, who would be known in the community, because A, that's a tough bar to run against somebody who has an incumbency in a judicial race, but two, out of respect to their colleagues that they may not run, and the people of Gwinnett will have a greater pool of people, we'll have more choices, we'll have more open election if we pass your amendment.
Senator knows what he speaks.
And is it not also true, Senator, that this bill, this amendment, that came from Jeff Lanier and our legislative council. The questions were asked whether this was constitutional appropriate, and since you're not creating a vacancy, the appointment would occur as the judgeship becomes open. The election would occur when the judgeship becomes open, that this is constitutional and appropriate, and that every member of this body that supports the people picking their representatives or judicial representatives should vote for this amendment.
I believe Senator knows what he speaks.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th for a question.
Would
Yes.
the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Senator, it's true that we welcome you to our new Gwinnett County Senate delegation. We're very glad to have you. But my question is, this is an amendment to a bill, and if this issue was so important, which I agree it is important, I was just wondering why, and maybe it's because you're a freshman, you didn't understand, but why did you not write a bill at the beginning of the session to accomplish this goal versus writing an amendment? A bill carries much more weight than an amendment, and trying to amend the other senator from Gwinnett County's bill. I was just wondering why you didn't write a bill.
The reason I didn't write a bill as a new senator, I just want to see what's going on, how the procedure works. I agree with you. That's the reason I didn't write the bill.
Do you continue to yield, Senator?
Yes.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you yield?
Yes. My senator.
Isn't it true that the Judicial Council did, in fact, study this, and they determined there is a great need in Gwinnett County for another judge in our judicial circuit for Superior Court?
I believe so.
Did I hear you just answer a question saying that you were willing to let the people of Gwinnett County continue to be overloaded, let these judges continue to be overloaded for the next year, and continue to let the people of our county be underserved for the next year if it's deemed that the election would have to take place in 2020? Is that what I heard?
The people reached out to me, the county, the residents of the Gwinnett County reached out to me, and they assured me they would rather vote somebody to be a judge. If they have to wait, they'll wait. They waited a long time.
Is it not true that that Gwinnett County fully supports the bill as it was written when it was introduced here in the Senate, the Board of Commission?
I'm not sure about that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, Senator.
Isn't it true, Senator, that you're not disputing that another judge is needed? You're just asking what people of your constituency have asked for, which is the opportunity to vote for a judge. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely, Senator.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 23rd for a question.
Yes, Senator.
Isn't it true that it's been the custom for new judgeships to first be appointed by the governor?
I guess so.
And isn't it true that this amendment could have been brought up in judiciary but was not in Judiciary Committee?
I wasn't aware of that at that particular time.
All right. No further questions.
You have no more questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield the word.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 22nd to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify that the senator from the 5th, what his intention was, I'd imagine. I just want to say that from a legal perspective, I'm taking no real position on a Gwinnett County fight, but from a legal perspective, it is a question of whether the governor must appoint to fill vacancies. And that was established in Clark versus Deal. It is not a must necessarily. It is basically what was established in that particular case was that, as has been said, that there is a tradition of doing that, but when you have a vacancy such in this particular circumstance where there is no judgeship that exists now, it is actually an open question whether it's a must the governor actually appoint, or whether you still have the option of election or you have the option of appointment. So I want to clarify that just to kind of show you what the senator from the 5th, who may not be as astute on all the legal issues that exist. But that's what I wanted to say, Mr. President, and I will yield for any questions, but that's my basic point.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th for a question.
Would the senator yield?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Senator, if this was so important to the minority party, why at the beginning of the session, like I was talking about before, did y'all not submit legislation? And maybe you did, I didn't see it come through, but now Gwinnett County here is at the forefront and you're putting a spotlight on it, and we all know the Judicial Qualifying Commission is the one that acknowledges this, that goes through and purviews all these applicants. They do a good job. We've changed the system. We've reformed the system. But I was just wondering why the minority party is choosing to do an amendment versus a bill.
I think the senator realizes there's a lot of things that happen in all chambers are extremely important, where sometimes we clarify with amendments when that is the possibility to do that. The minority party has always taken the position that it's better to elect judges. I'm in favor of the business courts that'll be coming up, but I'd much rather those judges be elected. I've always been on record for that. As I said, I'm not getting involved in the inter-party fight here between Gwinnett folks. I'm just saying as far as a legal proposition, that even though that has been the tradition, it is not mandated that the only way to fill this spot is through a governor appointment.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're the well.
All right, we'll take up amendment number 1. The question is now on the adoption of the amendment number 1. Is there objection to the adoption of the amendment? There's objection. There's objection. All those in favor of the amendment from the senator from the 5th will vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. State your inquiry.
Is it not true that we're asking for amendment number 1 to be voted down, that we do not approve of it in the Gwinnett County Senate delegation, and we're just following the tradition of what has been done in the state of Georgia with the election and the appointment of judges?
I'm sure the senator knows of what she speaks. For what purpose the senator from the 48th rise?
Point of inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that the delegation is not disputing that we need a judge? We would like to be able to elect the judge.
I'm certain the senator knows of what she speaks.
Thank you.
On the adoption of the amendment, the yeas are 20, the nays are 34, and the amendment is lost. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 1. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you read the caption of House Bill 28?
House Bill 28 by Representative Mathiak of the 73rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 15-6-2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the number of judges of superior courts, so to provide for an additional judge of superior courts of the Griffin Judicial Circuit, to provide for the appointment of such additional judge by the governor, to provide for the election of successors of the judge initially appointed, to prescribe the powers of such judges, and other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends this bill do pass. Mr. President, that concludes the order.
Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 18th to speak to House Bill 28.
Good morning, colleagues, and Mr. President, thank you again. I bring to you House Bill 28, which is similar in some ways to the bill that you just had before you, except it doesn't have all the controversy, I hope. This simply deals with the addition of a Superior Court judge to the Griffin Judicial Circuit, which has 5 counties in it: Upson County, Spalding County, Pike County, Fayette County, and Lamar County. Similar to the Gwinnett situation, the Griffin Judicial Circuit has met the metrics so that they are entitled to an additional judge. And those of you that aren't familiar with the process, there is a mathematical and a metric process that's driven by the data with regard to the number of caseloads that's carried by the judicial districts, the number of judges that are there, and you simply do the math. And with our growing population in the areas that are increasing, there's a need for an additional Superior Court judge. The Griffin Judicial Circuit is one of those, for them to take their number from 4 to a total of 5 Superior Court judges. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Chair recognizes
Yield the well.
the senator from the 16th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to speak in favor of House Bill 28. This includes much of my district: Fayette, Spalding, Lamar, and Pike, and Upson. The current caseload is at a 5.61 is how they rate it, and they have a value at 5.32 as far as it with the need. So they are already over that period of time. Currently, it takes about a year for a case to be heard. There's a need for the 5th judge, and I would ask that your favorable vote on this. We need that for our area, for justice to be done. Thank you.
You had no questions. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 1. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 30th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the reading of the names of the appointments made by the Lieutenant Governor and the Supreme Court to the Judicial Qualification Commissions be dispensed with, since they have been printed and placed on each senator's desk.
Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the names of those appointed to the Judicial Qualifications Commission? The names are on your desk. The chair hears none, and the reading of the names of appointments is dispensed with. Chair continues to recognize the majority leader.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that one roll call suffice to confirm all appointments unless any senator designates that an appointee be removed from the list and voted on individually.
Is there objection to confirming the appointments with one roll call vote? The chair hears none. We will have one roll call vote on the confirmations. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Mr. President, I move that the appointees to the Judicial Qualifications Commission made by the Lieutenant Governor and the Supreme Court be confirmed as submitted.
All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the confirmation of the appointments, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0, and the appointments are therefore confirmed. I'd like to take a moment to recognize former Senator Mike Crane, who's with us on the floor this morning. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 o'clock on Monday, 18 March.
Mr. Secretary, will you read the announcements?
Rules will meet upon adjournment in 450 of the Capitol. Finance Ad Valorem Subcommittee will meet upon adjournment in 310 of the CLOB. Government Oversight will meet at 1 p.m. and 125 of the Capitol. Appropriations Education Subcommittee will meet at 1 p.m. and 341 of the Capitol. Higher Education will meet at 1 p.m. and 450 of the Capitol. Finance will meet at 2 p.m. in Mez 1. Insurance and Labor will meet at 2 p.m. and 310 of the CLB. Science and Technology will meet at 3 p.m. and 450 of the Capitol. Regulated Industries and Utilities will meet at 3 p.m. and 307 of the CLB. Transportation has been canceled, and Judiciary will meet at 4 p.m. in Mez 1. That concludes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to issue my Thursday noonday luncheon invitation. The Working Families Legislative Caucus will meet in 307 CLOB, hosted by the United Auto Workers and the Machinists and Aerospace Workers. We'd welcome you there upon adjournment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't able to send you a text that you members of the Rules Committee, so we do have a meeting immediately after adjournment here. I also want to remind you, today is Georgia Production Day. Across the street at 12:30, we'll have some great music and fellowship, and love for everybody to come. Plus, our own man from Irwin County. Where are you from? Irwin County. He will be playing with the All-Star Jam, so please come if you can.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want you to pay particular attention to this. Our Pilots Caucus has a luncheon today, so before you folks go flying out of here, take note of the announcement on your desk. If you are a pilot, we'd love to have you join us.
I see what you did there, flying out of here. Chair recognizes the senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I neglected to announce this morning that members of the Georgia Military Hall of Fame inductees for 2018 will have a program at 2 o'clock on the plaza level in Twin Towers, and I invite you to come by and speak with them. Thank you.
All right, the majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Monday, March 18th, 2019. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it, and the Senate stands adjourned.